What's going on YouTube? So today I'm going to teach you how to turn a harsh light photo like this into something like this. So this is all done in Lightroom. You don't need Photoshop, you don't need any third-party app that you need to download, so you can do this all from either your phone or you can do this in the desktop app. For the sake of this tutorial, I will be doing this in the desktop app, but you can follow along in the mobile app as well. So for those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Hsl Burnam. I am a full-time videographer and a travel photographer. I create videos just like this on YouTube, so I suggest subscribing and liking this video if it helps you out, as it helps me create more videos just like this and help you out even more. So with that being said, let's go ahead and hop into Lightroom.
Is this all there is? Is this all there is? I feel
Alright, what's going on guys? So we are in Lightroom right now. As you can see, we've got the picture that me and my buddy Cameron got with him in his car. I wouldn't say it's a very harsh light photo because there is some shadow right here that we can work with, but we're gonna have to pretty much play with this half of the photo and kind of make it match this part of the photo without ruining the highlights and saving some of the shadows. So with this photo, I ended up using my hot so you can obviously see the name. With this preset, looks something like this exact. We're gonna go ahead and add a mask around his face to go ahead and bring some of that what is it, pixels back, I guess, or the shadows back. So if I do the before and after, you can see this is the before and then this is the after. So before and after, we added some vignette around the sides, not too much. Save some of the shadows in his shirt, as well as making this side of the car a little bit teal, just so it doesn't look super dark and blue. Yeah, so let's get started. So first off, I'm gonna go ahead and reset the image. So this is what it looks like straight out of camera. First thing I'm gonna do is go ahead and crop it. He's not specifically using this picture for Instagram, but say we were gonna use it for Instagram, you could do like a 4x5. There's a lot of real estate in the sky in the ground that I really don't want. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is unlock this and then drag this in a bit and then drag this down a little bit, so it kind of just zooms the whole picture in. Because if you think about it, this is all the same. Like if this wasn't in the photo, people can still tell that this is going to be there, that it's not going to be like a super large building or anything, so we don't really need it. So right now we have it cropped to how we want it, and now we can start editing the photo. Alright, so if we look over here, you can see all the settings that it was taken with, and the histogram. Everything looks kind of good. Nothing's too dark, nothing's too light. And first off, you always want to start in your basic tab. What I like to do is I like to hit auto, the button right here, auto. It kind of just tells me what Lightroom thinks could happen with the photo, but then we'll just fine tune it after that. I don't hit auto and then leave it. I always fine tune it after I hit auto. So with this, I kind of want to leave the exposure where it is. I liked how it was kind of bright. We're going to need it kind of bright so we don't lose some of the shadows in the process of editing, because we're going to go ahead and darken them back up in the process. So with this, I'm going to go ahead and probably boost the contrast up a bit. I'm liking 21. It kind of makes the shadows a little bit darker, and yeah, it just makes it look a little bit better. So I'm going to drop the highlights all the way down in this one, just because of if I were to boost it up, you can see this part. I'm not too worried about this part. I'm worried about the sky. So what I'm going to do is just go ahead and drop that all the way down, so we leave some of the clouds in it, as well as when we go and edit this, we can keep the sky where it is. So with the shadows, they're a little bit too light for me. As you can see, the whole image is pretty much like a little bit too bright in the shadows, so I'm gonna go ahead and bring that down to about, I'm liking 30. It kind of keeps the shadows on the car nice and black, as well as on his shirt it's not too dark, but we can still see it. So with the whites, I'm probably gonna jump them up just a bit. As you can see, if I were to do it on the car, it kind of brings it back out, making it pop, as well as the sky and the clouds. Obviously the sun's over here, so it's gonna do a nice little fade back into the blue, which I think is pretty cool, because the car comes from white to a little bit of blue, and that's going to be really good when we go and edit the colors. So with the blacks, I'm probably going to just drop it down one or two. Let's see, as you can see on his face. Yeah, I'm going to leave it at about 23 because we can always go back and bring his face back out. I'm just worried about the shadows in the car and just making sure that they look good. So with the texture, I always like to add a bit of texture. If you guys don't know what texture does, if I jump it up like this, you can see it adds a lot of sharpness around the edges, but it also adds a lot of grain. I'll even zoom in a bit. As you can see around the car, you'll see a lot of grain. So I'll probably jump that to about, I'm liking 21. We're gonna drop the clarity just a bit, and then we're gonna bring up the dehaze just a bit as well. As you can see, it brings some of the sky out again, making it just look a lot more sharper. So I'm probably gonna leave that at about, I'm gonna go ahead and go 17. As you can see, it's still doing that sky effect, and it's really nice because it goes light blue to dark blue, and that's gonna look really good when we edit this part of the car. So with this one, I'm gonna go ahead and leave the vibrance and saturation where they are. I don't think we really need this in this picture. There's a lot of blue, and then the skin tones are already good, so we're just gonna leave it how it is. So with this is the tone curve. We're just gonna make a small little S curve. So with this, I'm gonna bring the shadows down slightly and then drag it over to the left just a bit, and then I don't want the shadows completely dark, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and drag that up to create a little bit of fade in the picture, maybe even drag this down a little bit more. So with the midtones, as you can see, they're quite dark, but it starts to go up with the highlights. So I'm just going to do a smoother transition and bring them up just a tad bit. And then with this, the highlights are already good, so we're going to try and just bring those back out like that. So as you can see, it creates sort of like an S, which is called the S curve, and yeah. Alright, so now we're at the Hsl color. This is basically just your color sliders that, yeah, if the color is what it is, this is going to be the where you edit it at. So as you can see, right now we have the blues pretty saturated. We're not going to keep that, so what we're going to do is, with the aquas, we're going to go ahead and drop those down to about, I'm liking 15. As you can see, it starts to go, if I were to not do it and then jump it back, as you can see, it just lights it up a bit, making it more of a natural sky tone. With this, I'm going to go ahead and do this a bit aqua too. I'm liking about 5. And then what we're going to do is we're going to actually drop the saturation down on the blues a tad bit, just so it's not very saturated. As you can see, it looks a lot better now, more or less if there was just a reflection from the sky. And then so with this, we're going to go ahead and actually boost the saturation up for this, the aquas, creating a little bit more of that natural sky reflection on it. And then so the finishing touches with this, we're going to go ahead and do with the blues again. Let's say we're going to go ahead and drop the luminance of the aquas down, and then we're going to go ahead and do the opposite for the blues, just to kind of mimic that effect of the saturation. I'm liking about 25 for each, or negative 25 for the aquas and plus 25 for the blues. And as you can see, this is the before and after what we have already. This is a bit overexposed, but we're just going to kind of keep it like that because I think it looks cool with the transition in the sky. So with the other colors, you know, you can go ahead and play around with your liking. I might change the saturation of the yellows a bit. Let's see how those look. Yeah, I'm going to drop it down just a bit, just so it's not super blown out like that. We're just going to keep it about negative 15, and that would be like how the pavement would look in real life. Maybe even drop the luminance down as well, so it's not super bright. I'm liking negative 10. So what we edited was the hue, the aqua hue, the blue hue. We edited the saturation of the yellows, the aquas, and the blues, and then we dropped the luminance down as well as the yellows, the aquas, and then we boost the blues, creating that nice sort of real glow on the car, and it's not too saturated. So with the split toning, we're going to go ahead and bring out his skin tone just a bit. I think hue 44 looks about right, and then we're going to drop it way down to about 8. I'm thinking that looks good. And then we're gonna go ahead and bring out the blues again around here, but make them just a little bit more saturated. So what I like to do is I like to boost it all the way up to 100 to see what I'm actually changing. In this case, we're gonna go ahead and do the blues again, and I think that looks good. It sort of matches that, and then we're gonna do the same thing how we did and just drop it way down to about 7. So as you can see, this is the before and after. It's starting to come together a lot better. The shadows are really nice, and it's sort of the same actually. You know, the shadows on the shirt are still the same, but we're actually going to bring that out once we're done editing the colors and everything else. So now we are with the sharpening. What I like to do is I like to zoom all the way in, and I highly suggest this because it allows you to see what you're actually doing. If you click Alt while you're doing it and you slide the slider, you can see what you're actually editing. As you can see around the car, it's doing the nice little grain effect, but that's the sharpening. So we'll jump it to about 63. I'm thinking that looks good. Another thing is if you mask it, if you click Alt and you drag the masking slider, you can see what you're masking out. White is what you're sharpening and black is what you are not. So with that, you can even zoom out when you're doing it. As you can see, it's just showing everything. I'm thinking 96 looks good. It's the very edges of everything that's gonna really pop out in the photo once it's done. So with that, we're gonna zoom back in, and then we're gonna go ahead and edit the detail. We're going to go ahead and drag the detail down a bit, but bring the radius up just a tiny bit to about 1.5. And as you can see, it's a lot sharper than the before and after. It just looks, it's coming together really well. So with the noise reduction, we're going to add just a slight bit. If I zoom in, you can see that there's a little bit of noise right here, and we're just going to go ahead and keep it like that, but we're going to go ahead and add just a tiny bit of noise reduction. I'm going to go ahead and let's say 11, and that just makes it a little bit better. So when you're looking at it from a distance, it just looks like a very nice creamy photo, and it doesn't look too harsh of lighting, but yeah, it just comes together really well when you're looking at it from afar. So with this, we're going to go ahead and go down to the vignetting. I like to add a bit of vignetting on pretty much all my photos just because it looks good around the edges and just brings it all together. So we're going to drop it down to about, I'm liking -15. It just kind of brings it into just about the car, just dragging your eyes to the middle of the photo. And one trick I like to do after I'm done vignetting, I like to click the graduated filter or click M, and then you come to here and you drag it up just a bit. I think even that's good. If you see colors when you do it, that means one of your settings are edited. As you can tell, my blues are all the way to the blue side, so we're just going to go ahead and cancel that out, and then we're going to go ahead and drop the exposure down just a bit, creating that nice little shadow effect that just drags it into the photo. And as you can see, it just makes you look directly at the car, which is kind of cool. And so next off, I think we're done with all the colors, but now as you can see, his face is a little bit too dark. And so how you fix that is you're going to go over to, well, you're going to zoom in, then you're going to go ahead and click your radial filter. I'm probably going to go back to about 1.1, and then we're going to go ahead and drag it around his face just like that. And as you can see, it's still got the blue preset on it, so we're just going to cancel that out. And then what you're going to do is you're going to invert it, then you're going to drag the exposure just up a tad bit so it brings it back out. And let's see how that looks. So before and after, you can tell I think it's a little bit still too dark for my liking, so we're going to go back and click Shift M as well, and then we're going to go ahead and maybe boost it up 1 or 2 more, drag it a little bit to the right to center it out, and then voila, just like that. So this is a before and after. As you can see around the face, it's still a little dark, but I do like it because in a natural lighting, as you can see in the natural state with no edit, his face is pretty dark and you still want to keep it natural. So yep, this is the final result. And with that being said, this is my hot A summer preset. I kind of just recreated it for you guys. But yes, it is not out yet, but it will be releasing, so I highly suggest subscribing for more and liking this video if it really helped you out, guys. But I also post my pictures like this on Instagram, so make sure you follow me on that as well, and I'll catch you next time.